Let's take a look at how to use the new analytics features available in Medius.Re. The first thing you'll see when coming to analytics is if there are presets available for you, they will show up in this modal. So you can either build your own custom analytics or continue where you left off. This will be the same as what you would have done previously. Or you can utilize any one of these presets that are available to you. What that preset will do is it will determine how your data is grouped, whether it's by fields, trial blocks, or trial block categories. It will show you what data fields will be selected in your analytics, and if there are any filters applied, what those filters will be. So for example, here in this corn demo, we have early maturity, medium maturity, and late maturity available to us. So let's go ahead and select medium maturity, and what we will see is that it will pre-select these data fields, yield, top yield group, and test weight that we saw in the preset, and it's going to filter by maturity group medium. So we can go ahead and look at our filters here, and we will see that maturity group is pre-selected to medium. So these varieties, these 48 varieties that we are looking at here, have been filtered by that specific maturity group. If we wanted to add more filters, we could do that by clicking on the plus here, coming to select data field, and go through any available data field that we have. So for example, if I wanted to look at availability, my options are available or unavailable. I want to see only the varieties that are available, and then go ahead and click on filter, and it will refetch that data and only return the varieties that are currently available, which are now 47. So it filtered out one variety that was unavailable. So now I'm looking at data that is maturity group medium, where that variety is available. Now you'll notice there's some gaps in here where there are trial blocks that don't have any data. We can go ahead and easily clean those up by coming here to the trial blocks tab. So with trial blocks selected, I can come down here to filter trial blocks, and I'm going to turn that on, and it's only going to show me the trial blocks that have data for the current year that I'm looking at. So that helps clean up the mess of what we see here. So you'll notice, again, like you would have had before, you have your varieties here. Now we've added, if there is a source available, you'll see that source available to you. That source could be a company that owned it, a breeder, etc. Again, we have our data grouped by our trial block category. Each column is the trial block, and then over here at the end we have our current year average, and you have the option to have a multi-year average. If you want to adjust the multi-year average, it's still up here in settings, and you can come down and change the multi-year average. So you have flexibility there. You still have the data fields that you have selected. So yield, we selected top yield group, we selected test weight. And then you have your z-score totals, which is the average of all of the z-scores across all of these different locations. And then that gives you a simplified score that we can go ahead and sort and rank these varieties based on their performance in yield, top yield group, test weight across all of these different locations, across all of these years. And you can see there's a little Y value and an L value here. That will tell you the number of years and number of locations available in this data that you're looking at. So you can scan down through here and see those. If I wanted to do a deeper dive into any one of these, just as like I would have before, I can go ahead and select any one of these rows just by clicking anywhere in the row. And you'll notice as I do, it will add a check mark here to indicate that I've selected that variety, as well as give me a count here at the top to tell me I've selected these 6 varieties. Then at this point, as you would have before, you have the ability to then click on compare and jump into compare. So you'll see here now you have all of those varieties that were selected here in comparison. Okay, we are back in analytics now, and I've started over where I cleared all of the filters that we've had. So we're now looking at the entire data set here. And this time, let's look at how we can group our data differently. So by default, the data was grouped by the data fields here in the tabs, and each column was a trial block. We can come over here to group data by and change that to trial blocks. And what that will do is it will now make my tabs the trial blocks and my columns now become the data fields. There's a little bit of flexibility to be able to view this, similarly to what you might be used to if you've seen summary tables coming out of OVT programs, or any kind of tables that are obviously grouped by a specific location. That is handled here by grouping by trial blocks. In addition to that, you can also group by trial block categories. So these categories will be these different regions that the trial blocks all fall under. And when you're looking at trial block categories, you can also see the entire data set summarized into one table. So that gives you plenty of flexibility. Let's go ahead and go back to fields, and we'll walk through some of the other features available here in analytics. So when we're looking at these total z-scores, and I'm going to sort by my multi-year average here, the z-score is this total score is all of these different z-scores that come from these different data fields. Now they are just a straight average of those, but let's say you wanted to adjust that weight. So you wanted to give more weight to yield than to some of these other locations. Here with data fields selected, you can just click on the little scale icon here to toggle these weights, and you'll now have a new column here that will give you flexibility. The plus icon indicates that this is a positive score. If you wanted to invert it and make it a negative score, all you would have to do is click on that plus, and it will now invert all of those. That's beneficial if you're looking at data where the lower the value, the better it is, as opposed to the higher the value, the better it is. So I'm going to go ahead and return that to a plus. So let's say I wanted to give yield 2 times the weight of everything else. I just can change this to be 2, and now you'll see a little times 2 here, and our order has updated here because now all of these values include this multiplication factor. That's great when you're just looking at a specific data field, but let's say you want to give a different location more weight over other locations. You can come in here to trial blocks and select any one of these locations that you want, and increase this weight. So let's say we want to give Beaufort 2 times the weight, and then now you'll see here we have this times 2 by Beaufort. So when I'm looking at this total score, I'm now seeing that where this value was given twice the weight, as well as the yield was given twice the weight. So it gives you the ability to adjust how your total scores are calculated and give more merit to a specific location that might be beneficial to you, or a specific data field or characteristic that you're looking for that is important to you as well. As before, in analytics, you still have all of your settings over here that give you plenty of flexibility in being able to see what you want to have available to you. So for example, standards would be if there's a numerical value that has a string representation, you can turn that on and it will show you a string representation. Showing the z-scores, if we turn those on, it will show you underneath here the z-score that is used in this calculation, which can be helpful. The show range, if you're looking at multi-years worth of data, you can turn show range on. So I can go ahead and I'll hide analytics here so you can see this multi-year column. You will see that we have, or even if there's multiple locations represented within a aggregated value, it will show you the range of those values, so the min and the max. That is available to you. Back in settings, if you want to change the multi-year average, you can do that. The other thing you can do is currently each one of these trial block columns is going to show you the current years. So we have 2022 selected. It's going to show me the current year's data. I can actually change that and say show me a multi-year data. So show me up to 3 years worth of data here for each one of these trial blocks. So now you can see that the range and the values have changed to represent now that multi-year. Go ahead and flip that back to current year. Let's turn off z-scores, turn off our ranges to simplify what we're looking at here. Show counts. This is again here in the multi-year view where you have your Y and your L values. You can turn those on and off. If you don't want your columns or your cells to have the gradient shading, you just want to colorize based on above and below averages and min and maxes, you can turn the gradient off. And now if I sort, for example, by Piedmont, you'll see here's the max value. These blue values are all the ones that are greater than 1 standard deviation off the mean. Anything that is not shaded falls within a standard deviation either way of the mean. Anything that is yellow here is anything that's less than -1 standard deviation from the mean, and then your red is your min. If you don't want colors at all, you can turn off colorize, and you won't have any colors represented here. Let me go ahead and turn those back on. The last couple things that you can do here is you can export all this data to a CSV or an Excel file, or you can capture this as an image for usage in a report or anything else that you might need it for. So that is an overview of the new features available to you in Medius.Re Analytics.